Okay, so I want us to quickly work on our NextAuth, setting up our NextAuth. Okay, so as you can see, this is the Prisma schema that we set up. In case you're finding it difficult to do or to write code at a certain stage of the tutorial, you can just go to the GitHub repository that I put in the description. I think they're in all the videos, right? So you go to the GitHub repository in the description, you go to the file that you are struggling with, and then you can either cross-check or just copy and paste so you can move on faster, right? So now that we understand this, let us go into the terminal and then install a few packages. So I'll just say npm I. Then what packages are we going to install? We are going to install NextAuth at latest. Okay, so NextAuth at latest here. Then we install Prisma. So Prisma client. Then we install NextAuth. So NextAuth Prisma adapter, right? So NextAuth slash Prisma adapter. Then we don't forget to add our bcrypt JS. Right now, since like I mentioned the other time that NextJS uses React 19, and we all know that React 19 is not stable yet, we're going to get an error if we don't add --legacy peer deps. Then we just hit enter. So I'm going to quickly pause the video, then once the download is complete I'll just resume and then we can continue. Right, okay, so the video is done and the install is done, and so I want us to quickly install one more thing. So you're going to say npm I -d, then we install the types for the bcrypt because they don't, the types doesn't come automatically. So bcrypt, so bcrypt JS. Okay, so then let's not forget our legacy peer deps. Okay, all right, so yeah, I think most of us are more used to the bcrypt itself, just normal npm I bcrypt. But it looked like some time ago I was working on this project and all of a sudden my bcrypt wasn't working well. I was getting errors. So I think I just did some extra research and I realized that it was no more bcrypt, but it was bcrypt JS. So yeah, you might want to adapt to the new thing, right? So let me quickly close everything here. Right, now that we've closed everything here, I want us to quickly go into the folder. I want us to go into the folder structure here, and then we'll open up this app folder. Then we just create libs. Okay, so inside this libs we are going to create a file called prismadb.ts. Then inside the prismadb we want to import star, so import star as Prisma from at Prisma client, sorry. Okay, so at Prisma client. Okay, nice. So now that we have been able to set this up, let's quickly come down here, and then what we are going to do is we are going to say const client is equal to what? Global this. Okay, so global this dot what? Prisma or new Prisma dot Prisma client. Nice. Okay, So as you can see over here, we are getting some errors, right? And we are going to quickly fix this, right? So this global this is not really available everywhere in our application. That is why we are getting the error. And so you can see that the AI is trying to suggest this declare global thing, and then that is exactly what we are going to do. So we are going to declare global, then we'll open up these curly braces, then we'll create a var Prisma, right? And then we are going to say what Prisma dot what Prisma client slash, or that thing, I don't know the name of that symbol honestly. So yeah, so yeah, we just set it up like this, and then you can see that after setting the type, you can see that it's here. You can see that the error here is gone. Now that we've been able to set that one up, we can just quickly come here and write a simple condition here, and then we are going to check process.env process.env.node.env. If that is not equal to production, then let's make sure that the global this dot Prisma is equal to client. Nice. Alright, so after setting this up, we are going to just do export default client. That's all. Okay, so now that we have this all set up nicely like how we want it to be, we have to now work on the NextAuth and basically the providers that would allow us to work with or create our authentication functionalities. Right now, for that, inside this app folder, right, what we are going to do is we are quickly going to create an API folder. Then inside this API folder, what we are going to do is we are going to create another one called what, auth. Then we hit enter. Then inside this auth, we're going to create another folder, and then we're going to do it like this. Then we'll do it dot dot dot, right? So dot dot dot, then we say what, NextAuth. So NextAuth. Then inside this dot 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 NextAuth, we are going to say what, route.ts. Okay, nice one. So right after doing this, right, what we want to do next is we want to now write the necessary things that we need here, or the necessary providers that would allow us to work with or create our authentication functionalities, right? So the first thing is, let's import bcrypt, or even we can import NextAuth first, then import the auth options. So this type, we can import this type from there. Then after, we can import what, bcrypt from bcrypt.js. So bcrypt from bcrypt.js. Let me cut this out. So bcrypt from bcrypt.js. Then you can import the credential provider. So credentials provider, so you can see it here. So credentials provider, you can take it from NextAuth providers and then credentials. So it's actually kind of weird because usually it's seen like this, it's imported like this, right? Usually that's how it's imported. So that's how we are going to import it. But if we get any errors and we have to import it like this too, we'll make sure we do it like that. So yeah, let's just maintain the one that most of us know about. So yeah, this is how we are going to import it. Then right after doing that, we are going to come down here and then import the GitHub provider. So GitHub provider, right? So just imported a GitHub provider from NextAuth providers and then GitHub. Then we can come down here and then import the Google provider. So we are going to import the Google provider from NextAuth providers Google. Then let's not forget one more thing, that is the Prisma adapter. So we just come here, import the Prisma adapter. So Prisma adapter, we import it from here. Okay, so right after importing all of these things, we want to come down here and then import Prisma from this. So import Prisma from and use the alias, then the /app, then /libs, and then this one, right? Okay, so right after doing this import, we want to come down here, then we say export const auth options, then we say auth. So we set the type of that auth options to this auth options that we have at the top there, at the top of the import here, right? Then right after doing that, we want to say what is it saying? I don't know why it's already giving us this error, but let's just keep working. So the first thing you can see is the adapter. We have to pass in the adapter, and the adapter is going to be what? Prisma. It's going to be Prisma adapter that we have at the top there, and then we are going to wrap Prisma inside. So yeah, this is basically the first thing that we are going to do. I said provider is missing the types providers. Okay, no problem, let's move on. So inside here we say providers, and then inside this provider, this is where we are going to be passing in quite a lot of things, right? So the first thing I want us to first of all passing is the Google provider. So we can just come here and say Google provider, right? Then inside this Google provider, we just open this that bracket and then the curly braces. Then we make sure that we pass in the client ID. So we say client ID, and then this client ID is going to be what? Process. So it's going to be process.env Google client ID, Google client ID, then as string. Exactly. So Google client ID as string. Then we come down here again, and then we see what? The client secret, which is here. Then we set that client secret to basically process.env Google client secret as string, right? Okay, nice one. So now that we have this all set up for the Google provider, what we are just going to do is we are just going to copy this and paste it here, and then just change this to GitHub. Nice. So you just change this to GitHub, change to GitHub ID, and then change to GitHub secret. Okay, so now that we have both of these bad boys working, what we are going to do next is we need to work on the credentials. So for the credentials, what we are going to do is we just take this credentials provider that we have at the top here, right? The credentials provider we have at the top here. Then we would come down and then take the name. So the name is going to be what? Credentials. So it's going to be credentials, right? So credentials. Then we are going to come and take credentials here. Then inside here we create this nice object, and then we take the email. And that is going to be passing through. So the email is going to be label / email, label into the quotation marks email, and we are going to basically say that it's going to have the type text. Nice. Now right after we've worked on this, we want to quickly come and bring, like, we'll come here. Oh, come on. We'll come here and then we'll bring this command, and then we'll say password. So this password, we are going to set it to what? The label, and the label is obviously going to be password. And then we set the type to what? Password. Okay. Okay, so I don't know. Okay, it just wants us to format it nicely. Okay, so right after doing this, what we want to do is we want to come down here, then we write unauthorized. So we'll say async. So we'll say async authorize, async authorize, right? Then inside the authorize, we just pass in the credentials. Then right after here, we open up this curly braces here. Then inside, what do? We want to write our first. So the first thing is we check. So we say, oh, if there are no credentials.email, or credentials, or there are no credentials dot pass. So like there are no credentials dot password. Right? What do we want to do? Well, for that, we'll say that we want to throw an error. Okay, so we throw an error that says, so we throw new error, and then that error is going to say what? Invalid credentials. Okay, you can just make this a small letter. All right, then right after doing that, we can come down here. Okay, I think, yeah, we have to close this part, right? So I think for that, if this is where this one ends, and this is where, I think this is, so I'll just close it here and see. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think I just closed that. So yeah, under this if, what we want to do is we want to check for a user, right? So we say const, so okay, so we check for the user, const, oh come on, const user, then we say await. So we want to await Prisma dot user dot find unique. So Prisma dot user dot find unique, then we'll open it up. Then what we are going to pass is where. Okay, so where are we looking at? Then inside here you say, oh, check for the email side. Okay, and then when you check the email, see if you can match, or see if you get the see if you find what we entered through the credentials email, see if you get it inside the database, right, in one of the data documents. Now if you check, right, if you check and you don't get the user, or you don't see, if you check and you don't get the user, or you don't see the user dot password, you see here the AI is suggesting hash password, right? Don't worry, we used password inside our schema, but if we move forward and we realize that this password is going to be giving us problems, don't worry, we can always come back and then change it to the hash password and then use it. So yes, let's just move on. We used hash password, so we just we used password, right? So we just continue with password. Then so we want to check if we check inside and we and we don't find a user, or we find a user but like we don't see that the user has a password, then I mean obviously if you think about it, it means that the person used a social login, right? Like either use Google or GitHub or whatever, because like usually these social logins, they don't give you the password type of thing, right? So yeah, that's a good way to check. So we check for that, then we say that, oh, if we don't get it, we want to throw a new error, right? So we want to throw new error. Then for that, we would throw what? Invalid credentials, right? So right after working on this, we want to now check, oh, so what if we actually found the password, right? Let's check if it's the right password. So we say const is correct password, right? Const is correct password. Then we'll await bcrypt dot compare. If you use compare sync, you don't have to use await, but if you use just compare, you need to use await, because it's like compare sync is like saying, oh yeah, I already added the async await thing for you, right? And you know, funny enough, this thing was told to me by one of my very good friends in Nigeria. I think, yeah, we did have like this time where I was, you know, helping him go through backend development and everything, and he got so committed. He was reading a lot of articles. So yeah, we actually had like this talk in the morning before I was going to class, like the early morning lectures type of thing. So yeah, shout outs to Frank. So yeah. Yeah, so we have the credentials, the password here, and so we are checking. So we say, oh, take the credentials, take the password that we passed through the credentials, right, that the user passed through the form, and then check or try to compare it with the user.password that we have, right? And if it's the same, right, or if it's the right one, or if it's the right password, we can just return the user, right? But if it's not, right, we can just write. So if it's not the right thing, or if it returns false, we can just come here and then throw a new error. So we can just do a new error, and then just write invalid credentials. Alright, nice. So right after working on all of these things, you think we are done, right? Nah, we are not done. So what are we supposed to do next, you ask? So that is, we'll come down here under this array, and then we'll pass debug, right? So for this debug, we will say process dot env dot node env, and we check if it's development. Okay, now the reason why we are doing this is so that we can get the errors, we can log out the errors and see the mistakes and everything, and then we can just go back and correct them, right? Then we can add the session, and then the session is going to be this, right? Then we say what strategy is, what JWT, strategy is JWT. Okay, nice. Then we come here and then we pass in the secret. So the secret is going to be process dot env dot next auth secret. Okay, so I mean that's basically it for setting up our routes.ts, especially, you know, in a more general term, setting up our NextAuth for our authentication functionalities, right? So in the next video, we are going to be working on the register functionality. Then after the register, work on the social logins, the social authentication functionalities. So yeah, just go through this project and get this done. Then hopefully I'll see you in the next one.